getting back to what happened, you see, you asked me and told me that you only got bits and pieces of the story. Well, the preview is all bits and pieces. And you have to pay attention because I say it as I remember it, okay? So with that being said, going back, recall, November 4th, 2006, I get a plane ticket in preparation to leave 30 days after that on December 4th, 2006, to go find property to relocate to Florida for my family at the end of the school year of 2006-2007. So with that being said, I leave and I get a phone call. And then Judy Castonguay came up to my house December, the day that I got back after driving in a blizzard to get home to make sure that I was there. Brianna had gotten kicked out of school right after I left. How coincident? Not at all, okay? She didn't do anything wrong. This was the beginning of the conspired story to take my children from me. So, knowing that Michael Knox, the principal at the time, had told Judy Castonguay, the guidance counselor, that I had to meet with him before Brianna was allowed back in school. She contacted me, she told me that. So the day that I got back and she came up to the house, she called Michael Knox, and Michael Knox told her he didn't have to meet. Well, damn, you're gonna meet with me. So I went down to the school with Brianna. Judy Castonguay said, you girls go into that side, to the front, and she went in the side door because she didn't want them to know that she gave me a ride. So we go into the office, ask Jocelyn Gervais. She tells us that Michael Knox is busy after she had called him, and that it's going to be 20 minutes or so. I said, no, he has to be making himself available 24 hours a day when he's the principal of the school, because that's our right. This is about our children and the protection of. So I called the supervisor of schools. Now, knowing that previous to this, okay, Brianna had been in an 8th grade classroom, homeroom classroom, with a teacher named Mr. Whitaker. Mr. Whitaker had been there for approximately 23 years, and he wrote a letter in regards to the concern of the growing personal relationship between Brianna Knights, he mentioned it as BK, the initials, and Mary Hare. Well, it ends up being that Mary Hare was a teacher for an IEP program. Okay, my daughter was an honor roll student. She dumbed my daughter down to an IEP and put her in her room where they play on computers and draw pictures, and they get graded for it. And then she started luring Brianna over to her school, out of her school classroom, and over to her house. Then I called one day to check on Brianna because she said that she wasn't feeling good, and she was really adamant she didn't want to go to school. I didn't know that all this stuff was going on. Well, now I know. The fact is, that day, Brianna got taken out of school. I called to check on her. She wasn't there. Mary Hare had taken Brianna out of school. Jocelyn Gervais, the secretary, told me that Mary Hare had taken Brianna out of school without my permission, and it wasn't a field trip, to New Hampshire, Littleton, New Hampshire, Walmart. That would have been an hour and 40 minutes each way. Why did that happen? Okay? Mind you, this is leading up to Teddy Miller, the constable that was there that used to ticket everybody. He never stopped me about one time, okay? And it was a frivolous stop. Now, when he stopped me, he said that I had a non-valid driver's license because I was a resident of and blah, blah, blah. Well, he ticketed me wrongfully, and I lost my license for that. Then he ticketed me 8 more times without stopping me, and I had to pay the consequences for that, $2,000, and I had to pay it in person. That meant I had to fly to Vermont from Florida, which was loss of time, and in person pay for those tickets, and then fly back to Florida, and then reimbursement for a reinstatement for my license. Okay, so there were some more issues. May of 2007, when Billy Bone had Savannah in her, Keanu in her care, and Brianna was with Pam Taylor, Savannah and I were down in Florida introducing her to a potential pre-K. And I got a phone call from Billy Bone. It was a Sunday, right after I had gotten out of church, telling me that my home had been vandalized and that it was front page in the newspaper to eyewitnesses. Caledonia Record, what happened to that? Okay, I believe in this docket right here, this case file that I have from my attorney, I have a copy of that newspaper article. Yeah, I also have other copies of newspaper articles that subsequently disappeared out of the media. And with that being said, I'm going to tell you that in January of 2008, my daughter got on a plane and she left. I got accused of putting her on a plane, but she tried to get away from the abuse that Jeffrey Hare has been founded to have committed. He sexually assaulted my daughter and he physically abused her. She had to have a pregnancy test 3 weeks before she was 15 years old. How did that happen? Island Pond, Vermont? I want to know. And there was also a name mentioned in there of Bickford. Okay, he was 22 years old at the time. He was supplying Brianna with a place to drink alcohol. Amy Passari, now LeClaire, who was a Vermont State Police lieutenant, I believe now, she got raised in rank after abusing and probably sexually abusing kids herself, I'm going to say, because she was feeding the boys the alcohol. And then what was happening? Well, it leads to my kids got taken away. I don't even drink alcohol. I didn't then and I don't now. So with that being said, we're going to skip it back to January and February, get those tickets. I took my kids out of school because they weren't safe. Michael Knox had hit me with a door and pushed me out a door, and then he closed the door on me. I went to the medical center, and I had an exam done. I've got the paperwork to prove it in my medical records. I also have a witness to it, Judy Castonguay, and Brianna, my daughter. Okay, so Brianna and I walked down to the health center. Judy Castonguay met us down there and wanted to know what was going on. So everybody knows, especially my medical records, to prove the fact that I was assaulted by the principal of Brighton Elementary School when they were trying to take my children from me for no apparent reason. Then they started filing this truancy paper when I had the right to homeschool my children. And so with that being said, I had Teddy Miller knocking on my door with truancy threats and all that crap. I was getting letters in the mail and such. I was getting letters left on my door. Well, I was not going to allow my children to be subjected to the abusers. I was doing everything I could to protect my children. At the same time, all these people were conspiring against me and I didn't even know it. Linda Cope from Northeast Kingdom Mental Health Service at Derby, Vermont, she was meeting with my kids. She put in her reports that she was meeting with me as well. I never met with that bitch. She never met with me on a regular basis. No way. That's a lie right there. So Northeast Kingdom Mental Health Services, okay? And then, like I said, back in May is when Billy called me and told me that the home had been vandalized, and Teddy Miller had said that he ran out of film, so he wasn't able. Well, so where are the pictures that he had been able to take? Because he said he ran out of film, he wasn't able to get pictures. Anyways, the town said that they were going to clean up the mess and told me to go stay with my sister, Pamela Taylor Morgan, and Mary Hare would do the transporting. Well, for those 3 weeks of school left, Mary Hare came back and forth and got the kids and took them to school. That would be Brianna and Kiana, okay? So she knew I was there the whole time. And so when she came to the graduation party in Morgan for the kids that were going to the Brighton Elementary School, including my daughter and my nephew, Marshall Daigle, she went back after doing Savannah Parker's hair and said that she called Brianna and told her that there was a warrant for my arrest, and if your mom comes down here, she's going to get arrested by Teddy Miller, blah, blah, blah. She said it was a custody order. I found out, like I told you, I've got the copies of the report from the Vermont State Police stating that he had put a false warrant for my arrest, and they demanded that he take it out of the computer because they had checked with the Attorney General in the state of Maine and there was never such a warrant. Excuse me. So again, I didn't go because I was scared of embarrassing my children, not knowing what was going on. This was crazy. And nobody was helping me to figure anything out. They were all conspired against me. And I didn't see all this happening until the days and years went by. And here we are today in 22, still talking about 2007. The fact is, I never got the answers as to why they killed my daughter's bird and put it underneath my bedsheets, why they ripped up all my family photos, Brianna's pageant gowns. Yeah, pageant gowns, that's what I said. Brianna was in pageant gowns. She went to pageants. Yeah, she sure did. She went to dance. She did everything. And now look, they got her so fucked up on medications. And why? Because Brianna and I went to the courthouse, and she went to the courthouse, Guildhall, Essex County, Vermont. And she got the copy of her juvenile case that proves all of what I'm telling you is facts. Jeffrey Hare sexually and physically abused Brianna. Department of Children and Family Services found him to have done it and allowed him to continue to do it. Why were my kids taken from me under a false and fictitious warrant of abandonment and picked up right there in Island Pond, Morgan, okay, from they're valid caretakers because I had given permission and it was prearranged for them to be there for a week where they were at before we all migrated to Florida. And so what happens then? Barnstable County, Falmouth Police Department, that's when they come in. I was at a funeral. We were setting up at Barnstable County Fairgrounds with my road husband who had sex trafficked and kept me for all these years until he finally died. And when I say that, Rockwell Amusements out of Johnston, Rhode Island is where he was tied into. And they still come to Barnstable County. I have called Barnstable County Falmouth Police Department, and I have requested that the chief of police as well as the captain contact as well as records release the information that I'm telling you, and they keep on aiding and abetting and hiding it. That means they've got transparency issues in Falmouth Police Department in Barnstable County. I note to you that my grandpa, Thomas Howes, was the first sheriff in that county. Because why? My grandpa is the founder of Yarmouthport, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And so with that being said, I don't believe back then when my grandpa was sheriff that he allowed all of this stuff to be happening. And I don't believe that it still should be happening. And I don't believe that it should have happened at all. Isn't that correct? So why is it that Falmouth Police Department came to the Barnstable County Fairgrounds? They called me. I told them where I was. They said they were going to wait there for me, and they never waited there. What they did was they called me on the phone, found out that I was coming back from a funeral. I was 16 miles away, and I would be right there. They said they had a faxed warrant of abandonment to come take my daughter Kiana off of my grandfather's founded land. Why is that, Mary Hare? From Plymouth, Massachusetts now. That's right, that's where her and Jeffrey Hare live. Y'all need to know that your surroundings aren't that safe when you've got an IEP teacher that lured my daughter and then allowed her to be sexually trafficked by her husband, who was the supervisor of Border Patrol. Okay? And Jeffrey Noyce, who was their friend, who is now the one-man band up there. What happened to that computer that has all the information that I'm telling you? Because I have it all in documentation and paperwork right here with me. So I called Falmouth Police Department. I also emailed them a request, letter of intent to sue, and request for investigation. When I called them back in January 2021 and the chief of police asked me who I was going to be filing a lawsuit against and with who, I told him against them, being the Falmouth Police Department and anybody involved with this case, as well as it would be filed in Washington, D.C. because it's a conflict of interest that they have friends in Boston, because he laughed at me and said, good luck with that. Okay, I don't appreciate that, Falmouth Police Department in Barnstable County, Massachusetts, knowing full well that I have documentation that proves that I didn't abandon my children, knowing that one of the officers that told me they were going to wait for me but took off with my daughter before I could get there to try to prove that they were in the right, has been fired for stealing from the police department in 2014. He stole fireworks or something like that, okay? So knowing that he's a male, knowing it's a scientifical proven fact that all males lie, and they'll lie and lie and lie to cover up more lies, so the whole case has been a fucking lie. I want to know why, and I'm requesting that Plymouth, Massachusetts State Police, as well as Barnstable County, as well as Falmouth Police Department, the chief of police, because he was there in 2007, seems how he says he's been there 25 years, it's now 22, he was there when it happened. I want Department of Children and Family Services out of Hyannis, Falmouth area, and their investigation. And I'm requesting Falmouth Police Department out of Barnstable County to kindly contact me, respond to the email, howesforjustice@gmail.com, like you were previously requested to do and have declined to do so. That's all on audio record and shared to YouTube as well. So please, I'm requesting again, Edward Dunn, the captain of Falmouth Police Department, you, sir, have a mission statement. I seen you on YouTube speaking with Falmouth Community News. And you said to that lady that you had integrity and that you were doing this and that. Well, you people are the heightening concern and reason why there's so many people out here being deemed and doomed as mentally challenged or psychotic. And it's probably you behind the force that's getting these people wrongfully locked up, and committed. So I want you under investigation as well. Falmouth Police Department, Barnstable County, Massachusetts. This is a request for a complete investigation into the police department and a copy of the records and reports to include all video and photos that were taken, because I have a copy of them that came from my attorney, and I want to know what you have for copies, because these pictures came from your office. So what do you have that I don't have? And what do I have that you don't have to prove that your police department has done a frivolous act? Thank you. And this is part 2 of my request for investigation to the FBI and Department of Justice, Washington, D.C.